3 ministers have been axed and 10 others reassigned in the shake-up that's also seen Vice President Emmerson Mnangagwa stripped of his justice portfolio. Finance Minister Patrick Chinamasa, who's been leading efforts to re-engage multilateral finances to bail out the country, has been shifted to a new cybersecurity portfolio. He will soon pretend a soon-to-be-passed cybercrime law that is meant to curb abuse of social media, which President Mugabe says is being used to try to destabilize his government ahead of elections next year. The veteran leader, already endorsed as his party's candidate, may be reshuffling his deck with one eye on that contest and the other even closer. A tussle for supremacy between two opposing factions bidding to succeed Mugabe is raging. He may have rung the changes to counter the battling protagonists and maintain his control of the ruling party.
It's a sort of a realignment of the factional dynamics to make sure that ministries are aligned to discharge their duty in a way that the appointer expects and not necessarily at the expense of one faction. So it's balance of power at play by President Robert Mugabe. It's more about going to an election. It's more about creating a buffer zone, a likelihood of any feasibility of Mugabe's successor prior to the 2018 harmonized elections.
The last time Mugabe made changes to his government was back in 2015 as part of a purge on ministers aligned to his former vice president, Joyce Mujuru, whom he dismissed for plotting against him. Farai Mwakutuya, CGTN, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Well, let's find out more about this. Farai Mwakutuya now joins us in Harare. Farai, as always, you're welcome to the show. Now, opposition parties in Zimbabwe say this move is more about internal politics within the ruling party rather than the benefit to citizens. So what really are the reasons behind this cabinet reshuffle?
Well, Uche, when President Robert Mugabe hinted at making changes to his government over the weekend, he said it was because certain ministers that he'd appointed were not performing and not, delivering the services that he had anticipated or expected. So based on that, you'd say that it's a performance-based reshuffle. However, it also comes at a time where there's this escalation in infighting within his party, and it's difficult then to ignore people who say that he may be trying to diffuse the tensions, to manage the rifts. In the last couple of weeks, we've seen the two vice presidents of the country, involved in a public spat. The First Lady has also weighed into that and attacked the vice president. So President Robert Mugabe may be doing this, yes, for performance-related issues, but also trying to ensure that his party is united. Trying to ensure that through his party being united, his candidature is much stronger ahead of those 2018 elections. Uche.
Well, Farai, this does come at a time when the economy is struggling, and we know he did create a new Ministry of Cybersecurity, and he moved Finance Minister Patrick Chinamasa there. Why did he make this move, and certainly what have been the reactions to this?
Well, there is a bill, a cybercrime bill that is before Parliament and is due to be passed during this final session of Parliament, which will end just ahead of those 2018 elections. And it's basically meant to curb the abuse of social media. President Robert Mugabe believes that there's sabotage at play, trying to destabilize his government, and they're using social media to fan and spread this alarm and despondency. Just a couple of weeks ago when we spoke, actually, Uche, when there were shortages of basic commodities, when there was panic buying of some of those things, when fuel queues had resurfaced, Patrick Chinamasa himself blamed social media for spreading false rumors, for spreading that panic and despondency and creating that alarm. And so basically the government saying, look, we can't let the abuse of social media, the misuse of social media lead to these sort of crises and these sort of challenges. And so this ministry will basically oversee and police the use of social media and make sure that, not that Zimbabweans are barred from using social media, but that they use it properly and certainly not for purposes of, trying to cause political instability.
Now, Farai, as you mentioned, this cabinet reshuffle was all about performance in this different ministries. So what does it mean then for the country going forward? What changes can we expect with this reshuffle, especially now that the country is struggling with cash shortages?
Ocha, I can tell you that, people here are pretty much still taking these new developments in. However, I can certainly tell you that there's certainly some apprehension, rather, around the finance portfolio specifically. Patrick Chinamasa, the former minister, had made a lot of headway in terms of engaging the international community, particularly international lenders, the IMF, the World Bank, trying to get Zimbabwe to re-engage, trying to get Zimbabwe readmitted into the international financial community, trying to come up with a plan to resolve the country's long-standing debt. So at this stage, people are not sure whether the new minister, Dr. Ignatius Chombo, will adopt the same tone and same thrust, or will go on a completely different, thrust to his, predecessor. And so people are still waiting to see if indeed what he will do, whether the momentum that Patrick Chinamasa had, gained will be lost, or where we'll go to from here. I certainly have also heard from other people that they would have hoped to see a few more fresh faces in this cabinet. The feeling that it's the same faces basically being reshuffled and being put into different portfolios, but they would have liked to see more new blood, and particularly young blood, more young people infused into the cabinet. And so at this stage, as I said, still pretty much wait and see to see what will be delivered. But there is a lot of expectation, particularly as we head towards 2018, and particularly towards addressing the economic challenges that this country continues to face, Chair.